that crowd. They know who it is. They know the name. The next generation, indeed.
Next gen. That's his nickname.
What's up, Steelers fans? How's it feel to be at the top of the division today? After beating off the Dirty Birds, Baltimore Ravens at home, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, from the jaws of victory, from the jaws of defeat. It's become a cliche for us as Steelers fans, but games like this really are shortening our lifespan with the ups and downs. I thought we had it after the blocked punt that ended up in that safety there with Miles Killebrew. I said on Twitter early in the first quarter of this game that the only way the Steelers had a chance of keeping this within a one-score affair was if Miles Killebrew blocked two more punts and the defense got two more touchdowns like they did against Cleveland, and that didn't happen, but the defense did come up huge. Joey Porter Jr., his first NFL interception in the end zone there. Lamar Jackson taking a sack on the fourth down play that ended the game, but from who else? TJ Watt. TJ had another of his Baltimore Ravens games. He always gets up for those games. And Lamar always goes in the opposite direction for those games. I don't know what his deal is, but we seem to be the kryptonite of a quarterback that the rest of the league considers elite. He hasn't shown it either in our house or in their house. I've been at both of the Steelers-Ravens games in Baltimore the last 2 years and was not treated to a Lamar Jackson experience. Quan Alexander had a couple nice plays, some big loud stuffs there, and you love the energy that he brings to the team. Every time he makes a tackle, he's acting like he just, time's expiring and he just won the Super Bowl for his team. Landon Roberts had his regular couple loud stuffs that he's good for every game. Cole Holcomb, have a couple more notes for him.
They blocked down to their right, and Justice Hill, with his vision, able to see the hole coming back left, and jumped underneath Alex Highsmith, the outside linebacker, into open territory and pay dirt.
The broadcast showed on more than one occasion Lamar slamming his helmet onto the ground on the sideline there in frustration. And he knows he's better than he plays against this team. Lamar is going to have a Lamar-like game against the Steelers defense at some point, eventually, because that's what elite guys do, is they figure out ways to win, and when they can't beat you, they figure out ways to adjust. So, it's going to happen eventually, but, until it does, we can continue to gloat that they paid all that money to, a guy who can't get it done against a defense that got shredded by the Houston Texans a week ago. Got to give the Steelers defense and Terrell Austin credit for the adjustments that they and he made in this game. The Ravens went punt, touchdown, field goal in their first three drives of the game, scoring on two of their first three drives there. After that, shut out the rest of the game. Their drives ending with a fumble, turnover on downs, punt, safety, punt. That was the gunner fumble that he gave her right back, but then that renewed drive ended with the interception in the end zone by Joey Porter Jr. After that, the Ravens fumbled the Highsmith strip sack that TJ picked up and ran with, and then their last drive, that turnover on downs, was the sack on fourth down that TJ, with that great pressure, the threatening outside and then jumping back inside after splitting that double team, getting through, and Lamar pretty much just went down and gave up on that one. Another predictably slow start for the Steelers offense. They came on towards the end. A lot of back shoulder stuff between Pickett and Pickens. That seems to be one of the few things that's working right now. And people want to talk a lot about the Steelers coaching putting their players in a position to succeed. Let that happen more. Let Pickett just throw it up, not to the middle of the field, give him the protection of the sideline, but let him put it up there in man coverage, not in zone coverage, not when the defender's eyes are on you and can hawk that ball and, beat the receiver to the spot. In zone coverage, the defender has their eyes on the quarterback, whereas the receiver, his back's to the quarterback. He has to turn around to react and to track the ball. The defender's looking right at it. So in zone coverage, the defender has the advantage playing balls in the air. They said it in the broadcast that Pickett said in one of their interviews that if he has Pickens soloed up on the outside, he's getting the ball every time. And that's what we need to see. We need to see protection, being able to keep Kenny upright long enough to get him that ball. But when he sees it, and on that play specifically, it was a cover zero. They had 8 guys on the line of scrimmage and 3 kind of in the middle linebacker zone right behind the line there. Nobody more than 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. Obviously, that's the time to go over the top. Pickens got behind Marlon Humphrey. It looked like Humphrey had a slight stumble on one of his steps, and that's what got him out of phase and was never able to recover. It just shows you how thin the margin of error is in the NFL and the difference between a pass breakup and giving up what proves to be the game-winning touchdown is just so razor thin. We knew coming into the day that the offensive game plan was going to be run heavy with Kenny Pickett with that knee duct taped together, wanting to take some pressure off of him. And obviously the Ravens knew that too and were keying on it. So that set us up for an uphill battle. But we were able to succeed on occasions when they knew that we were going to run it at them. And that's the true test of your ability to be a running team, is if they know it's coming, can you still run it on them? And the Steelers were on occasion, and other occasions they looked completely inept at pass blocking, run blocking, route running, throwing passes. So the frustration comes not when you have a bad team, but when you have a team that has showed the capacity to play well, and they just aren't. Pickett looked very shaky in the early goings. Obviously, that knee was a concern coming into the game. I thought there was no chance he should have been playing today, just with the injury risk of a more severe situation happening. And also, it looked like he was noticeably limited because of that injury to his plant knee. On that early incompletion to Calvin Austin, clearly an underthrown ball that people had said Austin slipped, but he slipped because he was trying to adjust to a very poorly thrown ball. So a little bit of a chicken and egg situation there. I think the All-22 tape, when that comes out, will really tell the tale. I think the Steelers are just pressing a little bit, trying to be too sharp in their cuts and losing a little bit of the sight of their finesse, their technique. And that happens when you feel your back up against the wall and that lack of success, and you feel your fans booing in the stadium, which I think is severely lacking in class, regardless of what you think of the product on the field. I understand that the purpose of the team in football, the concept of professional sports in general, is for entertainment, but the Rooney family and the Steelers don't owe us anything. Should they want the results to be better? Of course they should, but they also know enough about football that they can't judge all of the validity of the scheme based on the plus minus, the point spread at the end of the game. There's so many other factors, especially with the way this offensive line has been so ineffective. You see some of the runs where they're able to just push guys out of the way. They had a couple 2-3 runs today where they looked like they were what was advertised coming into this year, with the additions of Samalu, Herbig, Broderick Jones. They were supposed to be big people movers. We were supposed to be able to play bully ball and just run it down teams' throats, and that hasn't materialized. But today we saw glimpses of it, but we also saw glimpses of the other stuff where it gets blown up in the backfield. One guy misses a block, a stunt gets through, this little popcorn stuff here and there that, makes the scheme look a lot more poor than it is. Is it the best scheme? No. Have we played teams where you go, why can't we do that? Why doesn't that work for us? Why can't we take a couple pages out of that playbook? Yes, I have had those feelings. But what I've also felt, and much more acutely, is I wish that we can keep Pickett upright for more than 2 seconds at a go. I wish, we could get a yard of movement. I wish Najee wasn't getting hit behind the line of scrimmage, at the line of scrimmage, every time he's trying to bang his head on the wall there. You can't say enough about the contributions Jalen Warren had today, especially that one long catch and run where it looked like he was down and then got back up, fighting for more yards. Najee had one of those kind of runs last week, and Jalen Warren said, anything you can do, I can do better. They used him heavily down the stretch. Najee seemed frustrated with, I don't know if it was the play calling, and I don't know if they took him out of the game to send a message to him, or if they were just riding the hot hand with Warren there. But either way, they were rewarded for the excursion. Rewarned. They were rewarned. They were rewarded. Rewarned. That's a bad pun. There was a play on the Steelers' last foray into the red zone there. Arthur Millette was working on George Pickens in the end zone, face guarding him the whole time, never looks back for the ball. At the very last second, throws his hands up to, try to, deflect the ball coming in because he saw Pickens flashing his hands. We saw Minkah Fitzpatrick flagged for doing that exact same maneuver last week, not getting his head around. Minkah made even less contact, and he was flagged for it, and Millette, they decided that was clean contact. I know different officiating crews are going to have their subjective opinions on what is and isn't pass interference, and positioning of where those guys are is going to have a lot to do with that. The back judge, who's right there, can't see through Pickens' body to see what Millette is doing, the contact that's happening between Millette and Pickens there. So it's a tough call for him to make. We saw the back judge make that call on Minka last week against Houston, and he relished throwing that flag a little bit too much for my liking. They decided not to throw that flag, and the Steelers had to settle for the field goal on that possession. The Ravens' offense with Lamar, who can just make crazy things happen with his legs, with his arm. They have Zay Flowers, who can get on top of you in a hurry. He's a threat from anywhere on the field to go the distance at any time. That offense with Justin Tucker, who you only have to get him to midfield and he's in his range. You never want to leave them the ball with time and a score or less of a margin of error. I did not feel safe at all with the Ravens getting the ball back with a 4-point lead there. And then we got that stop and the punt and Gunner running into Connor in that fumble. It's a weird thing when your own blocker is getting thrown into you and that's what's forcing the fumble instead of the defender, something that he does directly unto you. But in a weird way, that might make it worse for Gunner. And he lost his job because of fumbles on punt returns last year. And, he's filling in for Calvin Austin. They're trying to lighten Calvin Austin's load and give him keep him fresher for offense. And I think that that experiment may have reached its conclusion because, as Mike Tomlin would say, twice is a pattern in the National Football League, and it's more than twice now for Gunner. He's had trouble finding a helmet ever since he lost the primary punt return job, and he's going to have an even harder time doing that now moving forward. Steelers ended up with 17 points the hard way with 3 field goals, the safety, and then a touchdown with a missed 2-point conversion. So they score-gamied their way into a normal-sounding 17-10 victory. Home victory over the Ravens puts us in first place in the AFC North. Who saw that coming? I don't love the output right now, but I still believe in the system because I've seen it work. The run success rate towards the end of the last season was upwards of 70. They were starting to click because everyone was buying in. We would forget that last year they had perfect offensive line continuity all 17 games, which never happens. They haven't had that continuity this year. Obviously, the new starting left guard, Isaac Samalu, coming over from the Eagles, and he's looked not quite what he looked like when he was playing between 2 Pro Bowlers there. So not quite as advertised there. Nate Herbig starting for James Daniels and Broderick Jones starting for Dan Moore today. A couple shuffled pieces there. I haven't looked into the Sports Info solutions of how often they are running play action, but it seems like they could benefit from running it a little bit more with how hard teams are keying on the run. Play calling still needs to find an identity. Little too reliant on those sprint outs. Houston figured it out last week. It worked against the Raiders. But a lot of those plays, Kenny is still taking it on himself to leave those pockets. I don't want to throw the A word out there. I don't want to say he's afraid of being hit, but it seems like he prefers to get out into the fairway instead of trying to work amongst the trees. It's something he was very good at in college, finding room for both to run and to throw with his legs. But, the NFL is an entirely different animal, and not only are they going to be able to chase you down, but, every hit makes it harder to get up, makes you a little bit slower the next time you try to take off. You appreciate the kid's ability to make things happen with his body and with his legs, but you'd also like to be able to protect him more with the hits that he's taken last year, the multiple concussions. I don't want to put too much of an asterisk on this Steelers victory, heading into a Victory Monday on a long weekend. No work tomorrow, so we can celebrate appropriately. So I'll leave it at that. I will say the Steelers need to get healthy, and heading into the bye week, they have the time to do that. Pat Freiermuth, Dan Moore, James Daniels, Kenny Pickett, DeMarvin Leal, Cam Hayward, Deontay Johnson. There's a whole inactive list right there, just of big contributors on the Steelers team who are inactive today, and you hope that they can work their way back soon. So we'll leave the light on for those guys. We'll let their practice participation be our guide, and I will talk to you folks hopefully on another Victory Monday next week.